Hello world, and welcome to From This Day Forward. I am your host. You can call me CC, others know me by a different name, and this is my confessional video. Now don't worry, I'm not going to be droning on for 30 minutes. I'm just going to give you the bullet points of why I'm here and what I have to say. I believe that God has chosen me for a much bigger purpose than to simply fulfill a 9-to-5 job, working away, slaving away every single day. Hence the reason why I am creating this channel. I want to help others by sharing my story. And I know that I don't really have a voice for narrating or a voice for video, but besides that, I guess it really doesn't matter. A more detailed version of events will be coming in the next week or so, along with my testimonial. So please subscribe below and check out that soon if you're interested. Now, starting out, I know some of you are not going to have the same beliefs as I do. There are going to be conflicting arguments and opinions, and some may not agree with me in what I have to say, and that's okay. But all I ask is that you be respectful and you don't use crude and ignorant language in the comment section, or else I'm just going to, block the people and kick them off because, I don't think that has a place here. You can go to other channels and do that. Those of you who know who I am, just for a second, think about the risk that I'm taking putting myself on the front lines of the internet, because I believe that this is what God has called me to do. And every single person has a skeleton in their closet. And I am just choosing to pull mine out and hang it in front of my house so that everyone understands that the opioid epidemic in our country is killing hundreds of people every single day, and we have to do something about it. Also, as a quick disclaimer, I'm not a physician or a therapist or a minister, but when it comes to addiction, I have only attended the University of Lessons Learned, coupled with how-tos and how-nots. It's just things from personal experience that I can draw from, and advice that I'm going to be giving, I hope that you can relate to, and that I hope that you can use and apply it to your life, because this is the most important thing to me right now, is to just help people and point them in the right direction. Considering the state our nation is currently in during this opioid crisis, if I can even help just one person on their journey to or through recovery, then I know that this wasn't for naught. So here it is. I was an addict for 8 years of my life, from ages 20 to 28. My preferred drug of choice was methadone, but if I didn't have it, I would use oxycodone and hydrocodone as backups. In the beginning, I was using these substances to mask my own grief of having a miscarriage. It was rough, to say the least. I used more and more as my tolerance grew out of control, and my goal was to become completely and utterly numb, so that I couldn't feel a thing. My grief completely and utterly just consumed me. And the only time that I ever felt relief was when I used. And once your brain and your body become addicted, then you're stuck on that path until you seek treatment. And I didn't care about anything or anyone. I just wanted my drugs and to be left alone with no responsibilities and no obligations. I was essentially swallowing handfuls of pills for the first few years. And then it got to the point where I only used enough to keep from withdrawing. And, that was no excuse for remaining on the self-destructive path that I was on. I turned friends against me. I ruined relationships. And I displayed such unpredictable and at times completely insane behavior whenever I was under the influence. But the fact is, I didn't have any control, and I knew it. And it became incredibly frustrating for me. It felt as if I was just swallowed up and consumed by darkness. I remained in this hole, this pit of despair, for 8 years, and I would never wish this on anybody, on anyone, because this has become one of the top topics of discussion in our country, and we need to help not just me, but others. We need to help to put people on the right path and get them in recovery. Now, in short, I have been clean since August 13th of 2015, and I'm going to explain how I came to do that. For the first 6 years, I wasn't in denial, but I just didn't care anything about getting sober. I realized that I was an addict within the first, 6 or 8 months that I was using. But I wanted to stay in my misery, regardless of what it was doing to me and others around me, because I just loved the drugs that much. I put it on a pedestal, and it was my God. It was my everything. It was my universe. But eventually, I had to come to terms with my grief. So I swallowed hard and went to various treatment facilities. I went to 6 different treatment centers in the span of 2 years, but nothing stuck. It didn't work. And do you know why? It wasn't because I didn't want to get sober at that time, because I wasn't doing it for myself. Each and every time I went, I was doing it for someone else, be it my child, my parents, my boyfriend at the time. It was never for me. That's the key. I realized that selfishness got me into this mess, and only selfishness could get me out. Sounds ridiculous, right? But I assure you it's not. What I did was, when I began going to this buprenorphine clinic, when I walked into those doors, I immediately said that I was going to do whatever it took to remain in the program, no matter the cost or time or pain or struggle. And, I don't advise this next thing I'm going to say, but I even had to use my own funds that I had put away for bills. And I felt guilty about that. Of course I did. But my mother would reassure me that I couldn't take care of anyone until I took care of myself. And this was the same exact thing my counselors were telling me. So I did it. And somehow, by the grace and the mercy of God, I was able to later come up with the money for the bills. Of course, it became expensive, but, I'll explain later on as far as cost and all that. I'm going to address it and directly address the opioid crisis and what is going on in our country in a separate video, because that is a whole issue, a whole other issue entirely. Now, I had not yet rededicated my life to Christ at the time that I became sober. That came later. But becoming sober made me realize how much I needed God, because He was the one that got me out of this mess. He was the one that, I would lay in the floor and literally cry out for His mercy and for His love to just wash over me and to get me out of the situation that I was in. And I knew that if I just relied on Him, even though I wasn't an active Christian at the time, I knew if I just handed it over to Him, that He would take care of it. And He did. So after I got sober, it was a little while later, a few months later, but I did rededicate myself because I knew that God was the only way. Now, 2 years later, I'm clean and I'm ready and willing to try and lead others in that direction, and at least hear what I have to say. And even if you're not a Christian like I am not asking you to subscribe to my beliefs. But if you are in that dark place right now, I am just simply asking you to keep an open mind, because I know that God is in control, and He's got this, and He's going to take you places, and He's going to lead you out of this. So, and all I want to do is help others who have found themselves in this pit of despair, similar to when I was in the situation I was in. But simply keep in mind that sobriety and recovery are two very separate concepts. Okay, you can be sober and not be in recovery. Recovery takes effort. recovery takes work. It takes work. You not only work the steps, but you have to try every single day. And although you may get tired and weary, it is worth it in the end. Those who are either addicts right now or people who are in recovery that need someone they can relate to and lean on while they take this journey. That is my ultimate goal, to be your go-to person when you need advice, or you just need somebody to talk to, or have somebody listen to you for once. Now, if you inquire about something for which I have little experience or knowledge of, I'm going to be upfront with you and honest and try my best to point you in another direction and provide you with, a source and of someone who can be of assistance to you. At any rate, that's it for now, and I hope you'll join me on this journey, and stay tuned for future videos. I'm going to be posting them probably in the next few days. So you guys have a great day, and God bless.